Hi everybody and welcome back to my kitchen. What's on the docket today is a salsa that may look a little familiar, but it's got an interesting variation in flavor. It's a little bit like a roasted tomatillo chipotle salsa, but it's thickened with roasted peanuts, something that you find here and there all over Mexico, but I have seen it a lot up in Baja. So I'm going to go through the steps of doing it, but I wanted to actually show you this, not only for the variation of the peanuts, but also to talk about these chilies, because this is what we're going to make this out of. So these, if you were down, say, in Puebla, they would be called a chipotle rojo, a red chipotle, as opposed to the chipotle meco. It's basically what's in this can of chipotles, but this can has this vinegary tomato sauce that they're packed in. But I'm going to show you how to work with the real things. These are found very easily in most Mexican grocery stores in the US, and typically they won't be called chipotle rojo, they'll be called morita, so you'll look for that. I've heated a pan here over medium heat, and I'm going to put our dried chilies in there and let them toast until they're aromatic. Because this pan is already hot, it's not going to take very long. Feel free, if the canned chipotles are much more accessible to you, it's easy to make this salsa with those too. The flavor of the dried chili in this salsa, however, is more robust, and you will find that the flavor of everything is just more dynamic when you use the dried chilies than the canned ones. The canned ones, because of the vinegary tomato sauce, sort of veer off in the direction of what I would call sort of barbecue sauce-like, because this is a smoked chili, which is what I'm smelling right now. They're lightly toasted on the outside. You won't notice too much difference in their look. They'll puff up a little bit, but what you'll notice is that they release their aroma into the kitchen. So I'm going to slide them into a small dish and turn the fire off there. And then I'm going to go over here and cover them with hot tap water. I have really hot tap water. Some people like to do this with boiling water, but I'm just going to let these guys rehydrate here while we talk about the other preparations. Now, because we're working with roasted peanuts, I will always go to roasted tomatillos and roasted garlic and roasted onion for something like this. Of course, the tomatillos, when you buy them, have to be husked like that. Take that papery husk off of them. And then just to speed everything up here, of course, you see me a lot of times roasting whole tomatillos, but in this case, I'm going to cut them across the I call it the equator of these guys here, and then put them out onto a small rimmed baking sheet. Now I'm using the one that's called a quarter sheet pan. I love this size pan. You can buy it at any, you can buy it online easily, but any restaurant supply house will certainly have those. And so I'm putting them cut side down like that. I've got 4 cloves of garlic here, and I'm just going to lay those right on there. And then I'm going to cut some rounds of onion. I think that will be about the right amount here. Some people would make this kind of a salsa with everything just either raw or boiled tomatillos or boiled tomatillos and garlic, but I will tell you the flavor is so much richer when you do all this roasting. Now, because everything is kind of the same size, this is going to go really easily. I have heated my oven here to broil, and then I have put the rack at the highest level there, and I'm just going to slide it right in here to roast. It will take about 8 minutes total, but about halfway through, I'll just go in and check. The garlic will probably be brown and I'll want to turn it over, maybe the onions too, to flip them over. But the tomatillos will probably roast the entire 8 minutes just straight the way that I put them on there. So I will meet you back here once those have come out of the broiler and they've cooled down so that we can make the salsa and our chipotle rojo has rehydrated. This is what the tomatillos should look like, blotchy black in places. My onion didn't roast very much here, but the garlic did. I think there's a lot of water in this particular onion. It must have just recently been harvested. I'm going to take half of these tomatillos and put them into the blender. All of the garlic's going to go in there at this point here. And then I'm going to put the chiles that have rehydrated in there. Now, a lot of times these moritas, you'll find them in the grocery store, Mexican grocery store, and sometimes they'll be small and sometimes they'll be large. If you have a scale, I would encourage you to weigh out about a half an ounce for this. But of course, the quantity that you put in has to be to your own discretion. What do you like? Do you want it to be more chili forward or less? Now I've got 1/3 cup of peanuts here that are going to go in, and then we're going to put the top on this, and we're going to just blend this until it's completely smooth. Okay, this is really a thick mixture at this point. If it stalls in the blender, then you want to add a little bit of water, because in our next blending, we're actually going to add water to it. So I've got some water sitting here so that I could add it. It's just on the verge of stalling in there and not going through the blades. Okay, so our next thing is to add the remainder of the tomatillos here to the blender jar. This roasted onion, I'm going to cut up into what I would call rough pieces here. I'm not trying to do a fine chop of it, because I'm going to let the blender help me with that part of it. So we'll scoop all of that in here as well, because I want this salsa to be a little chunky, so that's why I'm doing the blending in 2 stages here. In Mexico, this would be called salsa inglesa. It adds a real deep, what I would call resonant flavor to this, about a tablespoon of that. It works really well, I think, with the peanuts. I said salsa inglesa, but I never translated it into what we call that in English. It's Worcestershire sauce. If you don't have Worcestershire, you could use a little bit of soy sauce, especially up in Baja. They use a lot of soy sauce in the cooking, so feel free to substitute that. Now back to the recipe. And then I'm just going to give it a little bit of salt just to blend in here, just to get it started. That probably won't be enough for the whole thing. This, by the way, is a great salsa to keep in your refrigerator for several days. A lot of salsas are very fresh and you have to eat them right after you make them, but this is a good keeping salsa for a few days. Okay, so I'm just going to pulse this now until I get the texture that I'm looking for. Okay, I'm going to take a look at it. I have my water here to thin it out with, but I want to show you what the consistency of this salsa is before we go any further. You can see that there's little chunks in there, and I think that's perfect for this. We have blended all of the peanuts in there, so we don't have to worry about it being a gritty salsa, but I'm going to put some water in here to thin it out, because it's really quite thick at this point. Pulse that in, and then we'll do the final seasonings of it. Okay, that's all mixed in there. Looks quite beautiful here. So I'm going to give it a taste. A lot of times this salsa, because of the peanuts, I like to put just a little bit of sugar in it. Well, certainly it needs more salt, but I did get started with the salt here. And then I'm going to put just a small amount of sugar, just a pinch of sugar in there to bring up the flavor of the peanuts. Pulse that in. And then I think we're going to be where we need to be. I will give it a last taste. Oh, that's really beautiful. I think you will really like this, especially If you're grilling things on grilled fish for tacos or grilled chicken for tacos, it's really, really good. Pork, if you have this salsa on like a tacos al pastor kind of thing, pork with pineapple, and this salsa, oh my God, it's so good. I think you're gonna love making this chipotle and peanut salsa.